YouTube, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Thursday, December 18th, and we have a 12-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts, let you know what sides I like, and stick around, because I have two highlighted plays for today. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. No recap since I didn't have a highlighted play yesterday, but like I said, I did end up betting a few dollars on the Bulls. I didn't see a ton of value. Of course, they end up winning it outright, but I can't complain considering we were still on the right side. In our first matchup tonight, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Charlotte taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Hawks are minus 210 on the money line, and the total is 239. Looking at the injury report, Colin Sexton and Trey Mann are still ruled out, but LaMelo Ball has been upgraded to questionable. For the Hawks, they're still without Kristaps Porzingis and of course Trey Young. In my opinion, this is a pretty even matchup, but I will say I really liked what I saw from the Hornets in that last game against the Cavs. Obviously, Cleveland hasn't been impressive themselves, but the fact that Charlotte was able to win the game without LaMelo or Colin Sexton is a good sign. Brandon Miller and Concanupple combined for 54 points, so if tonight there's a chance LaMelo plays and we're getting points in our back pocket, I think that's the side I want to be on. We already saw these two teams play on November 23rd, and the Hawks won that game 113 to 110 without LaMelo in the lineup. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping he plays, but either way, I'm rolling with Charlotte. Give me the Hornets plus a 5.5 as my first selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the New York Knicks in Indiana taking on the Indiana Pacers. Knicks are minus 185 on the money line, and the total is 225.5. At first glance, I was surprised to see the Knicks as such short favorites, but their injury report is pretty lengthy. Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mitchell Robinson are all listed as questionable. The Pacers' injury report is clearing up a bit, but in my mind, that still doesn't make them 4-point underdogs against the Knicks. Keep in mind, all of the guys for New York are listed as questionable, so they very well may play. If Cat and OG go, this is turning into a blowout. The books are obviously suggesting the Pacers should compete, but I can't get that 20-point loss to the Wizards out of my head. I see this one playing out similar to the Cup final, where the Pacers look really good in the first half and fall flat in the second to lose it by something like 9. I'm taking the Knicks laying the 4.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Miami Heat in Brooklyn taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Heat are minus 275 on the money line, and the total is 228. We've had some success betting with Michael Porter Jr. and the Nets, but this is a pretty significant mismatch tonight. The Heat are more than likely going to be competing for a playoff spot this season, while the Nets are probably looking at the lottery. Norman Powell was listed as questionable, but he's now been upgraded to probable. With all of their key guys in, I think they kick the crap out of the Nets. Brooklyn's just 6-7 against the spread at home, so you're losing money in this situation, and that's getting a bundle of points in your back pocket. I'm taking the Heat laying the 7.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Houston Rockets in New Orleans taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. Rockets are minus 430 on the money line, and the total is 234. Houston's been one of the most dominant teams in the league, even on the road. They're currently 9-4 against the spread. They're typically laying extended numbers too, so that's impressive. New Orleans has been disappointing to say the least, just 5-22 on the season, but I think they have a legitimate chance to pick up their 6th win tonight. A lot of injury news for the Pelicans broke the right way. Herb Jones, Zion, and Jordan Poole are all active tonight, so their current starting lineup is Jeremiah Fears, Trey Jones, Herb, Zion, and Derek Queen. You've got Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey coming off your bench. That's a lot of scoring and pace. Man for man, they match up really well against the current Rockets lineup. I think 9 points in our back pocket is a gift. I'm taking the Pelicans plus a 9.5 points as my first highlighted selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the LA Clippers in Oklahoma City taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder minus 1,600 on the money line, and the total is 224. Even with the Clippers at full strength, I'd consider laying the points with OKC, but considering now they're banged up, it's mandatory. James Harden and Derrick Jones are both ruled out, so now you've got Bogdan Bogdanovic running the point and Kawhi Leonard as your only real scoring threats. The Thunder will be without Isaiah Hartenstein, but besides that, they're at full strength. The Shea revenge angle is a little little played out, but I do feel like he always gives a little extra against the team that drafted him. I also see the Thunder playing with a little chip on their shoulder after losing the NBA Cup and hearing everyone hype up the Knicks. They probably come out, get the statement win, and remind everyone, hey, we're the best team in the league, don't forget it. I'm taking the Thunder laying the 17.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Toronto Raptors in Milwaukee taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Raptors are minus 185 on the money line, and the total is 220. This is probably my least favorite game on the board, just because I don't know what to expect from Milwaukee. We know Giannis is ruled out, but now Kyle Kuzma and Cole Anthony are both listed as questionable. The only man out for Toronto is RJ Barrett, so considering they're already the deeper team, I think they should win it by margin. The Bucks just got aired out by the Nets on Sunday, but what perplexes me is they also blew out the Celtics the game before that. I'm not going to focus on the one outlier game they won. I'm going to focus on the fact that the Bucks are 2-8 on the season without Giannis. Decent bounce back spot for Toronto. I'll lay the points. I'm taking the Raptors laying the 4.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Washington Wizards in San Antonio taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are minus 1,200 on the money line, and the total is 241. The Spurs come into this one the healthier and definitely more motivated team. They're coming off of that fourth quarter meltdown in the NBA Cup, so they should be dialed in for this one. On top of the Wizards being banged up and generally just one of the worst teams in the league, they've now covered the spread in their last 3 straight games. Beat the Pacers outright, then covered against the Cavs and the Hawks. To find the Wizards covering 4 games in a row, you have to go back years. They don't have the personnel or motivation in this spot. I see them losing it by 20 plus. I'm taking the Spurs laying the 15.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Detroit Pistons in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Pistons are minus 275 on the money line, and the total is 229. Nothing new, but Dallas's injury report is pretty lengthy coming into this one. Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, and Brandon Williams are all listed as questionable. The Pistons come into it at full strength. They should win it by margin. They're an impressive 21-5 on the season, 7-5 against the spread on the road. I will say it's kind of the low-hanging fruit. It almost seems too easy against the banged-up Mavs, but if I had to bet it, I'd lean to Detroit. I'm taking the Pistons laying the 7 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Golden State Warriors in Phoenix taking on the Phoenix Suns. Warriors are minus 125 on the money line, and the total is 231.5. Who are the Suns, bro? They've got Dylan Brooks and the boys running shit, yet they're somehow competing on a nightly basis. 14-12 on the season. They've got a better record than the Warriors. I see this game being a competitive bout, so rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. In 2025, he's really the only reason why the Warriors are competitive. I'm taking Steph Curry to go over 3.5 3-pointers made. It's a little juiced at minus 150 odds, but I definitely think he cashes. He's hit it in 4 of his last 5 games, and he literally dropped 12 threes against the Blazers on Sunday. I don't think Dylan Brooks keeps him under 4. In our next matchup, we have the Los Angeles Lakers in Utah taking on the Utah Jazz. Lakers are minus 400 on the money line, and the total is 242.5. Both sides have a few concerning injuries coming into this one. For the Lakers, Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, and DA are all ruled out. For the Jazz, Lauri Markkanen is listed as questionable with load management. The Lakers lineup is already thin, so I worry about them with this kind of IR, but I also need to know if Lauri plays. He's Utah's leading scorer. Taking 28 points off the board is definitely going to have an impact. For me, it comes down to who we know the Jazz are at home, the second best team in the league, 10-4 against the spread. They've competed with tougher competition all season. The Lakers are overvalued here and probably win it by 8. I'm taking the Jazz plus a 9 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Orlando Magic in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are minus 270 on the money line, and the total is 235.5. If I'm being honest, I was going back and forth with this game. Not in terms of who wins it or who covers the spread, but I couldn't decide between my prop or my side. The Magic's injury report has gotten past the point where I can even look in their direction. Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs are both ruled out, while Tristan Da Silva is now listed as questionable. The Nuggets are dealing with a few injuries themselves, which is why I wanted to just take Joker's points and call it a day, but there's probably more value laying the points with Denver. I can't count on Paolo to keep a game competitive, so as much as I think Joker scores at will, it's also very possible the Nuggets just blow these boys out and are up by 16 at halftime. Two of your stars out in the Mile High City, that's a bad spot. I'm taking the Nuggets laying the 7 as my second highlighted selection of the evening. In our last and final matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Portland taking on the Portland Trailblazers. Blazers are minus 360 on the money line, and the total is 239. The Kings season is honestly a wash. They'll find spots for the sneaky covers and upsets, but in competitive games, I don't have any confidence. Tonight, Zach LaVine, Sabonis, and Drew Eubanks are all ruled out. It's kind of become the Russell Westbrook show, which I am a fan of, but that style of play typically doesn't lead to wins. The Blazers have Danny Advia back at point and Shadon Sharp back in the lineup. At home, they probably get the dominant win. I'm taking the Blazers laying the 8.5 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. 11, 9, and 1 on all highlighted plays in December. Let's get right back in that win column tonight. I appreciate the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'm going to catch y'all. Peace.